Hello, my name is Aaron Edwards, co-founder and market consultant of Santos Springs. We offer grain marketing solutions to producers in multiple countries. Welcome to our W2H grain marketing channel. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I also recommend tapping the bell so you get future notifications. And if you like what you see, hit the like and share this video with other farmers who care deeply about their grain marketing. If you are a corn or soybean farmer, your revenue depends not only on your production, but also the answer to three simple questions: when, how much, and how you sell. One W, when, two H's, how and how much. Our W2H mentorship provides a clear, concise, and custom approach to answering each one of these three questions for your specific farm throughout the year. Before we start this week's content, it's always important to remember that trading in futures products entails significant risk of loss, which must be understood prior to trading and may not be appropriate for all investors. This commentary and the information contained within should be considered market commentary and reflect the opinions of the author. For those of you watching this with a delay, if you are a U.S. corn or soybean farmer and want to stop being held hostage by market uncertainty, let us teach you how to place each one of your bushels in a grain marketing strategy specifically designed to optimize your farm's revenue. Click on the link and we'll work together to see if our W2H mentorship is the right next step for your grain marketing. Hello and welcome to this week's video. Last week was a rough one. Soybeans made new lows. Corn's not giving us much to get excited about. There are some recommendations this week. So we always start with the action, and then later we'll talk about how we get into that action. So let me go ahead and share the screen. Actually, I'm going to make that a little bigger. I think it'll be easier to visualize it a little bigger. There we go. See if that did the trick. All right, so if you can visualize it, let's see if it's, there we go, that's better. All right, so the action this week, starting with the action, let's go ahead and check the box for the soybeans. My recommendation this week is going to be to sell 25% of the Q4 soybeans and to re-own in the July contract. Throughout the video, we will get to kind of piece by piece of why I am making that recommendation, but we always want to start with the action and the recommendation. Just, again, if you don't need to take action on that specific item and you're busy and you don't want to watch the whole video, that's fine. On the corn, I'm going to go ahead and say no action is required for this week. So check that box there. Now let's walk through the video and we will go item by item, but I wanted to start with the action, and at the end, then we're going to get to exactly what the thought process is behind that. I wanted to start here with the planting progress in Brazil. So now we're going to go to the part of the video that's just a simple update. We're going to talk about markets in general, talk about an update in general, then we'll get kind of the justification behind the recommendation. So again, let's make this big so we can draw it up. Let's edit it so we can kind of see where we are. Some of the big news when it comes to crops is planting in Brazil. And so let's go ahead and be able to highlight it. Planting is 83.3% completed. That's actually faster than last year, and last year was fast. So we're talking about pretty significant fast planting place. And I'm just going to go ahead and rush through here and circle. There's a number of these states that are actually done already. So let's get a blue stylus over here, and let's just get the ones. Let's start with the ones that are over 90. São Paulo, 100%. Paraná, 96%. Mato Grosso do Sul, 93%. Mato Grosso, 99%. Tocantins, 90%. Last year, they were at 65%. So planting is fast. It's really making progress. And if we want to do a threshold, let's get green here. Let's get all the ones that are at least 70%. 70 or better, and you knock out really most of them. So planting is well on its way. A lot of progress with planting. What's the crop? We might show the planting progress one more week, but we're pretty close to coming into the developmental phase. I always show this map because it's important for context. I won't go into a ton of detail on it this time, but let's go ahead and get let's get maybe black here. This is what I call that northern expansion region. This is the powerhouse state of Mato Grosso. Then this is kind of a central Mato Grosso do Sul and Goiás. And then southern Brazil, there's Rio Grande do Sul. But I want to zero in and I'll make it blue because we've got some pictures from the state of Paraná. I'm not going to say there's a weather story developing, but we're going to look a little at some images here from the state of Paraná, so the state in blue here. And we're actually going to look, it's here in this western part of the state. Let me X out of some of this stuff. There we go. Okay, so and I want to just talk a little bit about geography of South America. So Paraguay, it's not a huge producer, but it's pretty significant. And then you have production over here in Argentina that's down in here, if you know your geography. But over here on this border, on this tri-border right here, you have the Iguazu Falls. So Paraná, you can kind of divide it into the western Paraná has one characteristic, and then this part of Paraná has another. So that's what we're going to be talking about, western Paraná right now. These pictures are from western Paraná, and the customer down there that sent me these, he said, we're starting to get a little bit of stress. We really need rain. That was his comment. We need rain. For contrast, it's my understanding that this was directly on the other side of the road, although I'm not familiar with this exact field, but I know it's close by. It's the same region, 1 or 2 fields away. That's what the soybeans look like that have center pivots. So basically he's saying we need a little bit of rain, a little bit of stress, and then this is what it looks like with center pivots. So it's a good looking crop, but they could use a little bit of moisture. So I'm guessing you're asking what is the moisture situation like? And we just looked at the map of Brazil. This is the 7-day observed precipitation in inches. Let's see if we can get to where we can mark this up. We'll start with black. So you can see there's a lot of the rainfall would be here. Probably between, this is 7 days, right? This is going to catch a lot of the rainfall throughout Brazil and most of the production regions. Even here, right here in western Paraná, we're talking about right here, it's not like they're dry, right? It's not like they haven't been getting rain, but accumulated rain over the last 7 days of whatever it is, 2 inches, 2.5 inches. Yeah, that's good. They've also had some higher temperatures. Let's see. I didn't have a temperature map. It's been knocking on 100 degrees. So it's not that it's dry. There's rain. If you look at the rain forecast that it's dry, those beans don't look bad. Temperatures are high. A lot of Brazil is having max temperatures in the 90s or low hundreds. So it's hot. They've had in that region, they had a lot of good weather early on, so I'm not sure the root system you have under it. And then this is also, will they continue getting rain? And this is the 3-day forecast. Yes, they are expected to continue getting rain, but not a ton of rain. If you look beyond 3 days, then they get more rain. So I'm not overly concerned. It's not like there's a weather story down there. That's the point that I'm trying to make. There is rain. There has been rain. There likely will be rain. So here we come back to this. We always come to this this pyramid, right? The market plan portfolio. What are your options within that? Within your buckets, how can you manage or sub-manage each one of those? So we went back to the Q4 recommendations. That's bushels that if you're watching this in real time or close to real time, we worked through, and you know how many bushels that is and what action to take on that. So let's talk about it. And then, all right, going back to this, then the next step up is we're going to talk about seasonals, funds, technicals. We're going to do the analysis, and then the yellow is the call to action, which I gave you kind of that headline at the beginning, and we'll justify that more. We'll get into more detail here shortly. We always track the position of the funds. This is going to be similar to what we've done. A little bit of bad news on that is we had this little drop here on the funds. So I'm not overly concerned. For me, this is mainly sideways. And if you look at, let's look at the first week of October through November. So maybe we're down here a little bit. But if you look at basically where we spent most of the year, we spent most of the year in this area down here. And so I'm still not worried. There's not much of a story here, at least not yet, one way or the other. So then and then the other thing I wanted to point out is basis. If you look at that black line, see if I can zoom in on it. This is soybean basis. And you look at that black line, zooming in on it, you could see soybean basis picked up, but then it's kind of plateaued a little bit. The exact story on soybean basis will vary region by region, but this is representative. We've had strong basis, not so much anymore. I don't think there's a huge story here, but you need to file this information in your mind, because it's not like basis continues to rise. It's either rising gradually in some areas, or it's plateauing, or there's not much of a story there. It's made its move. 2 and 3 weeks ago, or even a month ago, basis had to make a move. Now here we are in a lot of areas, 20 or 25 cents better on basis. That's a story. Dropping 3, 4, 5 cents over the last week, not much of a story, but it's made a move. If you look at 60 under to probably 25 under, that's a move, right? That's in a lot of places anywhere from 20 to 40 cents. This is the bad news, and this is the July futures. I chose the July futures because you can kind of see the low well. I also chose the July futures because this is where I'm recommending the reownership take place. So this is the August low. If we want to look, kind of box this in, we have the low from August. And we traded down. So far, the worst was the overnight from Thursday to Friday, but we traded down to these levels, and it's not looking great right now, if you want to see where we are right now. So what's the thought process? What's the thought process on reownership? And I'll go detail by detail. If we look at it through another lens, is this a good time to sell beans? Well, we're at pretty much the best basis that we've had since harvest in much of the Corn Belt. And you can buy beans at or near the lows on the July contract. So you have the best alternative for the cash market, or close to the best alternative that you've had since harvest on the cash market. And you can step into ownership at very close to the lowest level that you've been able to buy really all year, right? Maybe one session off the low, 2 sessions off the low. So, and then the other thing is realize that I'm recommending Q4 sales. If we don't start selling Q4 beans soon, it's all going to be piled up, and we're going to have not very many options except, okay, dump it, right? So the calendar's running out. It'll be Christmas before you know it, and after that, it'll be New Year's, and Q4 is over. So if we're going to space out sales, exchanging the best cash alternative for the lowest buy-in, or close to the best cash alternative to close to the lowest buy-in, that's a fair trade in my book. Now let's shift gears to corn. Shifting gears to corn, and let's mark this one up as well. Maybe we go with green for the corn. Good news on the corn. So we've had 3. I'm going to make a box around it here. We've had 3 weeks in a row that we've had positive net positions of corn, and last week we actually had the high. So the highest level. Speculators are betting on corn, so to speak. They're betting on higher levels of corn. This is the highest bot position that they've had all of 2024. That's newsworthy. That's encouraging. And then you might be asking yourself, well, why am I not seeing better prices then? If they think prices are going up, why is it not better? Don't want to. I don't want to be spend too much time on this, but corn basis is still strong. Corn basis is still looking good. You can go area by area and research it, but the story is similar. And then the spread. So this is just, let me be able to mark this one up because this is an important one to understand. Let's get a highlighter so you can see that. And let's bring this down here. There we go. So let me go ahead and highlight up here. There we go. So we've got December 24 corn minus July 25 corn. And you could see that basically Monday's session was the highest that spread has been in a really long time, close to all year. I'd have to go back. Well, it's not on the chart, but it's the highest it's been in a long time over here at negative 18. I'm not saying negative 18 is a really exciting price level. But it is bull spreading, and it has been bull spreading. If we want to think about it, bull spreading. I mean, it started here. The worst that it got was down here, right? Let's see, when was that? That was back in September. That's the worst it's gotten, and then we've basically seen just this friendlier bull spread heading up this way, and it's still heading that way. So when a market is bull spreading, the thought process is, I want corn today. So I want corn today. Give me corn today. The nearby contract moves faster than the deferred. If that is the case, if corn is bull spreading, why are we not getting a rally in the corn market? If corn is bull spreading, why aren't we getting a rally in the corn market? And that can be very frustrating. So here's the March corn. And even though basis is strong and it's bull spreading, we have this March corn. And we're going to have a question in just a little bit about rolling basis contracts. But whenever you have a big contract like the December contract coming off the board, a lot of times you get finicky things happening in the spreads and finicky price action. And I think that's a lot of what we're seeing. So what's going to happen to the corn market? Thanksgiving week, let's just mark this up a little bit. We don't know, no crystal ball, but let's mark this up a little bit. All right, worst case scenario is it goes below that. But could we see $4 corn, $4 March corn? Yeah, I mean, it could go back and test the lows. And if we remember what happened in the bean market, it actually took out the lows. We actually saw beans coming way down. Beans came all the way and took that out, right? So it could stop here, it could stop here, or maybe it'll already turn around and head up again, right? We don't know exactly what'll happen, but what should we do? I don't know what's going to happen, but what do I need to do? I recommended sales. I believe I'd have to go back and look at it, but I believe it was in this price range right here. Where's my markers? There we go. I believe it was right in here. That's where I recommended the sales, the most recent sales since harvest. And then now we're down. So where do we reown, or where do we make more sales, or what's going to happen? I think in the corn market, and the reason I didn't recommend any action is, let's just let the dust settle. Let's let the roll happen that's happening. Let's get Thanksgiving behind us. We've already made some sales. We already have a little bit of progress on that. And it's a similar situation in the July contract. If you look at the July contract, it's also pushing down, and that corn contract's looking weak. So we need better news from the corn. All right, now that we got that out of the way, kind of the big picture, let's go fill out our logic. So seasonally, it's neutral. It's not a buy or a sell for corn. Seasonally, it is a sell for beans, and the reason it's a sell for beans is because a lot of times we get a weather story out of South America. So even though it's a sell for beans, there's no weather story. We just looked, it's raining and it's looking good. Managed money, corn is bought, but not a lot, so it's neutral. Beans are sold, but not a lot, so they're neutral. Trend for both of them is down trend. And for corn is down as well, or beans are down as well. Basis, let's say soybean basis is near, oh, that's giving me grief. Let's just type it. Soybean basis near post harvest high but stopped rising but stopped moving up, at least for now. Corn basis still strengthening. Technical considerations. Corn is bull spreading. Soybeans near lowest level since 2020. And so as a conclusion, since we're having basis contracts for soybeans that's strong or near the strongest level, and since we're having so basis is strong, but the futures are weak, substituting 25% of your quarter four beans, saying, okay, I'll take the cash, I'll make a sale, and I'm going to go ahead and re-own that in the July. That's a strategy that makes sense to me. In my book, that's something we'll take. So we'll go through the questions and answers, and then we'll track the results of that recommendation beginning next week. And I would just say on the recommendation, it's important to remember that tradings in futures, so I'll go ahead and put the disclaimer up here. Trading in futures options has risk. I will make the recommendation to buy the contract that I think makes the most sense, and I'm going to make the recommendation to use futures. That's the way that'll be my default. That being said, you need to think about your situation case by case, work with whoever does your risk and make sure that you understand what you're doing and what you're getting into before you make a decision. So I'm going to give my recommendation based on, a meeting we've had and understanding that you're comfortable, what you're comfortable with. So that's my job. But implementing it and figuring out exactly what that means for you, obviously, I don't want you to do something that isn't right for your operation. Ultimately, the decision is still yours. And markets are unknown, right? They're finicky. All right, so let's go to the questions and answers, and let's wrap this up. I have a D-Spaces contract. Should I roll it or just price it this week? So a lot of farmers, if you've written a December basis contract, chances are your buyer is calling you this week ahead of Thanksgiving saying, hey, we got this contract. You've got to get out of it this week. What are we going to do? Chances are that's the situation if you have a basis contract. So I assume a lot of people are in this situation. Anyone that has a basis contract in the DEES is probably in a situation similar to this. And the question is, should I roll it? Remember, we're bull spreading, right? So by rolling it, you're essentially selling December, buying March, so to speak. Or if you roll to July, sell December, buy July. Should I roll it? This thing's basis spreading. Should I roll it? Or it's bull spreading? Should you pay whatever, a dime, or if you go out to July, maybe 15 to 20 cents, depending on fees and spread and whatnot. Should you take that hit and roll it out to the next contract? Essentially, the question is, should you defer your income, push it out, and just sell December, buy July? Is that, or sell December, buy March? And here's my thought. First of all of the decisions that people make, I don't think it's a horrible decision to roll it. I don't think that that's a horrible decision. From experience and in my opinion, a lot of times rolling contracts can just be a way of kicking the can down the road and kind of saying, I don't really know what to do, but I don't want to make a decision today. And so I'm going to go ahead and say, don't roll it. And I'm going to give you the reasons why I think you shouldn't roll it. Reason number one, if you just look at the March or December contract, would you buy here? Looking at them all on their own, March or December, would you buy? And I think if you just look at them, you would say, I think I would let the dust settle on the other side of Thanksgiving and see. I mean, maybe this thing's going to go take out the lows from August. That's what beans did. Maybe this thing's going to just, the bottom's just going to drop out of it and we're going to get a heart attack. Maybe it rallies and takes off. I mean, that would be great. You could always, jump in and say, okay, great, it's going in the right direction. So the first reason is if you just look at the March or the July contracts, I don't think you would be too excited to buy here. I think it would be a little bit of a stretch. At least I'm not too excited to buy. I'm not recommending buying. Second of all, if you say, okay, DEES rallied, you're not going to get much more out of the basis. So in my book, take the cash, be done with it. Your basis is locked in. You might as well take that cash home, be done with the sale, and then say, okay, what do I want to do now? And feel comfort in the fact that you got out of the DEES when the DEES was bull spreading. The December contract didn't do very much, but you sure aren't forced out of it at the lows, right? It plummeted, then it kind of came back, then it fell. And so you didn't, I don't know when you locked in your basis, but take comfort in you didn't get out of the December at a horrible time. Another way to think about it is, let's say that you get out of, you roll it, or let's say you don't roll it, you just get out of a DEES, and then you're sitting on your cash and you're saying, I'm waiting for a moment to jump back into this market. We move down 10, 15, 20 cents. Think about, okay, you just got that back in a spread, right? You just got a spread that's even money or close to even money or something like that. So I would prefer just kind of keep it cut and clean and then say, if I was just buying a futures contract, would I buy a futures contract now? In my book, I would say no, that's not what I'm recommending. So just get out of the DEES. Take comfort in the fact that by riding it till you had to get out, it wasn't horrible. Sometimes you really don't have good options, right? So it was bull spreading. That's good. That's a reason to get out of DEES. It wasn't a horrible price level. I mean, kind of within the range of maybe the last 2 weeks. So it's not horrible. Just be done with that. And then go ahead and keep your eyes on re-owning it. And I do think it probably does make sense to re-own it at some point in time. Let's see if there's another question. We've got a couple more. How bearish are beans now that they took out the low? That's always scary, right? Whenever you take out the high or whenever you take out the low, and the question, the tug of war of opinions, some people will say, okay, now we took out the lows, we've proved we can't go lower, now we can finally be poised for a rally. The flip side of people will say, yeah, beans really are not worth anything, and they're not going to be worth anything because Brazil's producing a massive crop, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. So just be done with it, right? Basis is weakening. These beans there's no hope for them. We don't know how low beans can go. I think everyone's worst nightmare is that we get some type of price action due to tariffs or something like that pushes soybeans down to 2018 levels. Personally, I don't really think that's going to happen. I don't really think that's going to be, that's not really that happened once. And even if tariffs are going to knock the wind out of soybeans, which year is it going to happen? Is it going to happen this year? I think that's the expectation of the market. I'm not convinced that that's the case. And we really need, in my opinion, we really need to piece out the basis component and the futures component. So if we look at soybeans, what's the right marketing decision if you're sitting on a pile of soybeans in Brazil? And this is from working with customers down there. This is where the customers that have been following my recommendation, this is where they're at. They have already sold the soybeans that they're willing to sell before they harvest. That's already been sold. Harvest is going to roll around, and they're going to have beans in one of two situations. Either they don't have enough storage because they produce more than they expected, or they just don't have any storage. So either they don't have storage, they're going to haul it into town, in which case what's probably going to make the most sense for them, it's going to be February, March, is going to be dump the beans in town, buy the beans on the board, which is bullish. It's bearish for their basis, but it's bullish for Chicago. The other thing is, let's say that they do have storage. In that case, what I'm going to be advising for the guys down there is hold on to your beans unpriced. So how much selling pressure? The question is, how much selling pressure do you get out of Brazil? We might get a lot of selling pressure. That's people's worst nightmare. But if markets are well managed, the other thing that I think a lot of times people forget is that if you're sitting on unpriced soybeans at harvest in Brazil, it's February, March, before the US crop, you don't have storage, you're paying custom storage, what's the best thing to do? Well, the best thing to do is probably to say, unfortunately, I'm not going to get the basis I wanted. No matter how you slice it, I'm not going to pay custom storage for 9 months. And even if I did, they're probably not going to give me a fair basis. I'll just dump my crop and buy it on the board of trade, which actually is bearish for basis, but it's bullish for the board of trade. It adds buying pressure, or at least is neutral to the board of trade price. So I'm not bullish soybeans, but I'm not overly concerned that now that we took out the low, this thing's going to go down for another $3 or $2 or even $1. That's not really my concern. Again, take it for what it's worth. That's my thought. And the final question for us to wrap up: will basis stay strong if we get a rally? That's a really good question, and I kind of doubt it. There is a lot of grain out there. I think that's taking opportunities in basis when we have it, and I've recommended that, right? I recommended selling corn, wasn't thrilled about it, but basis was okay. Recommended selling beans. If we are kind of sideways and not much good is happening, hopefully we get a Santa Claus rally. I would love to see the futures price give us a little Santa Claus rally here first part of December, and we get that little uptick. And I'd love to see how far futures can go before they start bringing basis down. That's what I would really hope for, and that's when we'll sell, right? The rest of the Q4 beans or the rest of the Q4 corn. Hopefully we get that Santa Claus rally. But if we don't, moving cash drain on this pretty decent basis to wrap up our Q4, and then establishing some type of reownership if it keeps moving sideways, I don't think that's a horrible opportunity to get rid of the rest of our Q4 bushels. But again, we've got a lot of trading sessions before the Q4 bushels are done, and I've not made any recommendations on bushels that can be stored or bushels that we can push into sales next year. So I'm not overly concerned with the downside of futures markets. Maybe I should be, but I'm not overly concerned. Basis, I think, is probably sideways for the next several months. So depending on strategy, the only recommendations I've made so far are in Q4. Appreciate the attention. Appreciate the vote of confidence. See you next week.